Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to James Cameron.
I almost bailed on being a filmmaker. It's about sitting in that big dark room with all those other people you don't know, and something's going to come up on that screen that's going to take you somewhere.
I'm the king of the world!
And welcome back to James Cameron 101. I'm your host, Eddie Green. Today, we are going to be sitting down and getting ready to make a delicious meal with the author of this incredible book that I found recently. I was scouting my local Barnes & Noble and looked over, and I always like to go into the bookstores and see if there's maybe a magazine or maybe a new movie book on something Cameron related. And 9 times out of 10, I'm usually left with nothing in my hands. And then I was leaving the store, and I looked over to the left in the food section, and this cover caught my eyes, and I was like, that kind of looks like Kate and Leo doing the thing on the ship. And I walked over to it, and lo and behold, here it is. And I was like, is this like really like this is based on the movie? And lo and behold, it is. This is Titanic, the official cookbook. Please put your hands together for Veronica Hink.
Hi, Eddie.
Hello, good to see you.
It's good to see you too. And as I listened to you just now, I was reminded again of what a wonderful community this has become and is, and you're such a key part of it. It's wonderful what you do to share out and celebrate all of the wonderful magic of the James Cameron movies, and especially my favorite, Titanic.
Yeah, same here. For a long time, it was like it would always go back and forth between Terminator and Titanic. But I think if I had to pick one, I do think it is Titanic. I think that's his magnum opus, the one that when he leaves us, I think that's the one that everyone's going to point to and go, I think that was Pete Cameron right there.
I heard an anchor on a talk show the other day say she hadn't seen the movie, and I was just shocked, and her co-hosts were shocked, and I thought, everybody needs to see this movie. You just have to.
Yeah, no, it's and I also stumble across those people every once in a while, and I'm like, how have you not seen Titanic? It's the biggest movie of all time. I don't care if it's been topped by Avatar or anything like that. To me, it's just, it doesn't get more epic than Titanic. And I want to dive into the book itself, but before we do, I want to get into just how you got to this point. I know that's a long journey. There's a lot of details, but if you want to do the Cliff Notes version, how did you become a cookbook author? Like, that's such a unique thing.
Well, one of the reasons I appreciate you so much and all the information you share and the joy you spread is because of my love for the Titanic, which I started developing as a youngster. I grew up in a community in Wisconsin. By the way, I am about 90 miles east of Lake Wissota here in central Wisconsin. So this is where I grew up, and I just moved back here after 32 years in Chicago and New York, and I'm back here now. And this is where I first learned of the Titanic as a 8, 9-year-old little girl, learning about a man in Merrill, Wisconsin, who I always like to think of as sort of the Dan Coxon of Wisconsin here, who was traveling in third class, coming back from England. He was English, unlike, our the hero of Cameron's movie. He was from England, and he was a popcorn vendor. So I definitely wanted to tell his story because I was a food writer, and I still am. I shouldn't speak past tense, but at the time I was writing already for the newspapers and magazines about food. And I thought, when the centennial was coming up, I thought, here is a wonderful opportunity to tell the story of Dan Coxon and other food stories. And one of the things that I stumbled across was the list of the wines, champagnes, the cordials and spirit bottles that were found at the resting site, and all of the different information we learned from that. about the way the people on board lived, and I was so intrigued. So I was able to tell the story in Wine Enthusiast magazine, and it was just a little blurb, 250, 300 words, and it caught the interest of a publishing company that wanted to turn it into a book. And so that was my first book, The Last Night on the Titanic: Unsinkable Drinking, Dining, and Style. And that book is pretty special too. It really delves into many of the passengers and crew who have ties to food. For example, Charles Jockin, the baker, of course, who Cameron beautifully depicts in his movie. And it also ties into people that wrote letters home about the meals that they ate. The book that you found recently is really special too, and it's really dedicated to the movie, and it has movie snacks that are period food items, and it delves into the menus, but also into those types of things too. It really celebrates the period, and I was just so excited to be able to work on that project.
And how was that how was that approached, or how were you approached on this particular one? Because I know it's Insight Editions, right? That basically put the whole thing out.
Yes, and Well Known, which is part of Inside Editions. It was an idea that they had for celebrating the movie's 25th anniversary, and I was delighted to ask to be part of the project, and I just got involved right away and started testing recipes and going back and looking through menus again and trying to really, tell that story through the lens of the movie.
Mhm.
And I think it turned out pretty nice. I really love that book.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, because I don't cook at all, but my girlfriend, she's the one that is really into it. So when I saw it, of course, I'm just going to pick it up because it's a Cameron related book. But I do think it's a neat idea to the next time her and I want to sit down, pop the movie in, and not just watch the movie, but actually take this idea of eating food inspired by the menu that might have been on the Titanic and anything else you might have come up with and really trying to make it happen. It'll be a nice kind of, it'll make it more of an event, I think. And I think if anyone watching or listening to this that loves the film and you want to maybe watch it in a different way, this could be a cool way to do it. Get the book. I mean, the book, I don't know if you know about this, but when I was at Barnes and Noble, it was 50% off. I don't know if
Good.
yeah, so I was like, all right, cool. I mean, I would have bought it full price, but it was 50% off. So I was like, perfect. Like, it looked like they were clearing out a lot of their cookbooks. So I was like, perfect. This is the perfect opportunity, but this is the way to go. It's on Amazon as well, in case anyone can't find it in a store, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And, you mentioned about all the different ways you can celebrate through the book. And one of my favorite scenes in the movie, my absolute favorite, is the gambling scene at the beginning where the spot where Jack wins the tickets. And the character of Fabrizio, I really wanted to highlight that in the book. And so I found out through my research at the time that pizza was only around that time only just being introduced into New York City. So I included a pizza recipe. And of course, I used some spring ingredients for toppings like ramps and you could use fiddlehead ferns and all kinds of spring ingredients to celebrate Titanic. But I really wanted to tell that immigrant story. There's a recipe for tabbouleh because there were about 80 different Syrian immigrants aboard in third class. And the tabbouleh recipe is, sort of a stretch of my imagination of what mothers might have packed for their children on that journey to the Titanic and what they might have had so their children felt comfortable, during their travels, just like we do today with our children when we're traveling, what would be like a comfort food for them. And so it just really was a great opportunity for me to think about all those different nuances of the experience for people. And I think it was James Cameron who really sparked that interest in the immigrant story that the Titanic truly is, and really brought to light how many different immigrants were on board. And that was one of the things I really wanted to carry through in the book. There were so many different countries represented. Do you want me to go through a little bit of the list?
Yeah, sure.
So, there were 25 Norwegians, 44 people from Austria, Hungary. There were actually 26 Norwegians, 25 were in third class. And then, of course, the 8 Chinese that we know more about now because of the incredible movie, The Six, about the 6 surviving Chinese passengers. And then there were another really surprising number was there were 59 passengers in third class from Finland, and 4 were in second class. There were 33 Bulgarians, 27 Russians. There were 8 passengers from Turkey. And all the numbers I'm giving, by the way, are third class numbers, unless I've noted them. But Cameron was really the first that I know of who really illuminated that incredible immigrant story.
I mean, the more you watch the film, because I remember growing up on the film, you don't really catch the background players, I guess, because really, like, that's really where that's where they are. That's where they're mostly relegated to the background. And I understand why, because the main focus, of course, is on the Jack and Rose story. But the older you get, the more you watch the film, you really do start to look beyond Leo and Kate, and you start going, okay, I guess there was. And then, of course, how you said, specifically the Chinese passengers, I will at some point get Steven on here, because I know he's working on his own book, which is an extension of that documentary. So hoping to get him on. But yeah, it's just there was such a diverse crowd of people on the ship, and it's amazing that you took that into consideration for the book. And also, for everyone listening and watching, don't order like how you said that, like, about a pizza. Don't just order a pizza from Papa John's. Like, actually make the pizza that Veronica, right? Like, make the pizza. Like, that's the whole point of it. Is even if, like, what would you say the skill level is of this book? Is it for people that are pretty well versed in cooking, or can someone like me, who literally I struggle making toast, is it something I can do as well?
Absolutely. It's geared for beginners on up. And there are recipes for caramel corn, for example, because Cracker Jack had only just been introduced several years earlier, but it's still in the same time frame during the World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago. And so you can imagine that caramel corn was a pretty popular snack. I can imagine, people requesting it and having it as a snack on board, possibly. And it's also, an homage to Popcorn Dan, who pedaled his popcorn wagon through the streets where I live here in central Wisconsin. And so there are, kind of those types of extrapolations too. And then there are also traditional recipes. I know that if people have told me they don't care for lamb necessarily, but of course, in James Cameron's style, he researched those menus so well that he knew that lamb was really predominant on the menus, not just one, but on several. And he had that classic scene where Cal orders for Rose, and it's about the lamb, and Margaret Brown is involved in the conversation. And so there are those recipes as well. And I wish I could write the book all over again, because the menu just resurfaced last fall, and it has all sorts of things that I hadn't known were on board. Like Victoria sponge is on that menu. There's um, there's a wonderful, I'm drawing a blank now, and a consomme Renaissance. And so I started looking into these things and finding out more about them. And So now I want to write another book about Titanic foods.
Which that would be your third book on Titanic, correct?
Yes.
So the first one, tell me a little bit about that, because is that also a cookbook, or is that more of a story?
It's more of a story. It's a narrative, culinary narrative. And when I say culinary narrative, so I'm referring to the recipes that are woven in where it's contextual. So if we mention something about uh, someone wrote a letter home and talked about the Welsh rarebit, then there's a Welsh rarebit recipe. And I was trying to think actually of the letter home that Adolphe Saalfeld wrote. That's one of my favorite letters from the Titanic. And he wrote to his wife Gertrude about the fabulous lunch he had on board right after he boarded the Titanic. And he had this lunch and he talked about the pork and cauliflower and he washed it all down with the lager. And he really got excited about the food so much so that he wrote this whole letter about it. And so it presents the story of people like that in much greater detail. The book that you've been reading there has head notes, like like most cookbooks would have a head note explaining about, how to prepare it and a little bit of historical context. But the first book goes into like a whole chapter on some of these individuals. There's a story about Elise Lurette, who was a traveling companion to the Spencers in first class. And she saved her menu from the lunch on April 12th, 2 days before the iceberg. And the two menu items that were crossed off of Elise's menu were eggs, Omar Pasha, and Welsh rarebit. So, of course, that's where I went with the Welsh rarebit recipes.
Wow. No, so this one came out last, like how you said you discovered the menu last fall. That's when this book published, right? Last fall.
Exactly. Right around the time the book came
Wow.
out, this incredible new recipe or new menu came out, and it was sold at auction, and it was really neat to find that. So I'm still going to do things with those menu items.
Okay, because I was gonna say, are you in touch with whoever you were in touch with here for? Okay, is there a way we could expand upon, maybe, I don't know, use like take this exact book, but then like point zero or like 0.5 the whole thing, like the Titanic, the official cookbook 0.5 kind of thing.
I would love that. Yes, that would be great. I could definitely, crank out another one because there's a lot more too that we could focus on. So
Yeah,
it'd be
absolutely.
fun.
And it's just a beautiful, just like a beautiful, I don't know what this material is. Is it like felt, or is it like, how would you describe what the material is? It's not I mean, it is hardcover, but it has a nice kind of softness to it. It's weird.
Yeah, like a cloth.
Like a cloth. Yeah. Like a
Yeah,
cloth.
cloth binding.
It's
It really
absolutely,
is beautiful. And I've heard so many nice things about it. And the photographs are gorgeous. They're by Waterbury Publications.
yeah.
And they really did a phenomenal job. And what I love about this so much is that it really pays good respect to everybody involved in the Titanic, from food to passengers, from the crew, to the bakers, chefs, and so forth. It's really something I think was needed to honor them.
Yeah. Cause I've always seen the section of a bookstore where it's the official cookbooks, and there is the official cookbook for pretty much anything you can think of that I've realized. You can think of, I don't know, like I was just going through the list, like Pulp Fiction. I'm pretty sure there's an official cookbook for Pulp Fiction. And for some reason, it never struck me that why isn't there an official cookbook for Titanic, or really for any of them? I know there's an official Avatar cookbook that I want to get my hands on, but for some reason, like Titanic never struck me. And then when I saw it in the store not that long ago, I was like, this is genius. Of course, like this absolutely, like this makes more sense than Avatar personally. But like how do you feel about there being a cookbook for pretty much any kind of major IP that's out there?
I love it because I love people being able to experience their favorite things in
Right.
an immersive way. And these types of cookbooks really provide that. And I would say that if I hadn't even, worked on this book and others, but I love themes. Every party that I throw, I try to have a theme that people are all going to love. And, um, a theme like Titanic or there's a new wonderful new cookbook out now, Alice in Wonderland, and um, the I'm drawing a blank about the Wizard of Oz just came out.
I
It was
saw
like,
that one. I saw that one.
yeah,
Yep.
and I mean, what a great cookbook, and what a great entertaining guide. So a lot of these books, like mine, have playlists and games you can play, suggestions for games, trivia questions, and so I think it's great. And like you said, like Gilmore Girls and all the different things people, follow and appreciate. What a great way to help people find a way to celebrate that.
Right. Right. Now just quickly looking at you, you're wearing, that's the, that's obviously the heart of the ocean, right? That's what you're wearing right there.
This was a gift yes, it is, from my dear friends, Dan and Adilson in Chicago.
Wow.
And Adilson is the lead dancer for Chicago Samba. And they wanted me to have this because of my
Awesome.
books. And I just was so touched. So I wear it whenever I can. And I don't wear it every day, but I wear it for special occasions like your show because I was so excited to come on today and be here and get to know you. I thought, let me put something special on here for our meeting.
I know. When I was watching your appearance on Alexandra's podcast, you did you even changed your background, which was pretty
Yeah.
cool.
I was going to do that today, but I couldn't figure out how to set it up here in this great. I love this format, by the way, that you use. The what is it called? Um,
StreamYard.
StreamYard. Yeah, I love this.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. There's not a lot of complicated, because I've had other means to record podcasts that were a little more complicated, and certain people were like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to do. So I had to find a way to just be able to send someone a link and they're inside, and that's as easy as it gets. So,
Yeah.
but no, I love how you look, and this might, depending on how you feel about it, I can edit this part out. But I was even on your Facebook and I saw a post that you had posted about you were in a car accident.
I was in a really bad car accident.
I only found that out after I reached out to you, because had I known about that, I would have waited a little longer, because this was pretty recent, right?
It was 5 weeks ago. I have 6 broken ribs
Oh my God.
and 2 broken thumbs. But thank you for reaching out because this is one of the things that has helped keep me getting back on my feet. And
Wow.
I've just been telling myself every step of the way to challenge myself. First, it was getting off the painkiller. I wanted to get off the painkiller after 10 days. I thought, because that's it, I got to get off this. Then I had to get a new car. My car was completely smithered. And what happened was a large SUV flew off I 39 and into my car down below on Rib Mountain Drive. And it was just in my face before I could even see it. It was there, and it was pretty incredible, Eddie. And I am so grateful to be alive. And thank you for asking about how everything's going. It's been really hard. The first week, I couldn't even lay down to sleep. I sat in a hard chair, sitting up straight, and it's been real slow. It's hard to recover from broken ribs, but the gal that was driving the other vehicle, from what I understand, she's okay, and her mom's okay. She was with her, and I hope everybody's okay. It was just a real a real amazing thing to go through, and I have to tell you, as I wrote my book, my first book especially, I was going through breast cancer. And someone reminded me how the stories I was telling through writing them was keeping me afloat, and the incredible bravery and strength these people had. And well, while it can be very sad to talk about these stories and read these stories, it's also very inspiring to hear how they held on and supported each other, you know. And so once again, I tapped into that while I was in those first 2 weeks where I was really struggling. Was just reminded of my heroes from the Titanic.
Well, first and foremost, glad that you're recovering, because yeah, those photos, I was like, okay, this, because like there's obviously varying levels, and people watching or listening might be thinking of, oh, it was a little fender bender. No, this was pretty wild looking in terms of the damage involved. And um, I've personally never broken ribs or anything, so I don't know what pain was involved, but I can imagine what it felt like. And so I'm just happy that you're recovering, and it seems like it's a pretty quick recovery. You seem like you're talking the way you talked on Alexandra's podcast, which was prior to the accident. So you seem like you're pretty, like you bounced back pretty fast.
I am glad to hear that I sound better. Thank you. And that, yeah, and I hope I have, and I really worked on it. I tried to keep doing things every day, and it was hard, especially in the beginning. But thank you, Eddie. I so appreciate you, checking on me and seeing how I'm doing, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's flip it back to the book. Has Cameron or anybody involved with the film itself? Do you know? I mean, obviously Alexandra has a copy, and she was featured in the movie. But do you know?
Yeah.
Has anyone else? Do you know if anyone else has seen the book, read the book? Like, do they know of the book?
Well, not to my knowledge, but there might be some involvement that I don't know about,
Right.
so because I'm working on other projects, and, you know, I don't know of anything, but I hope they do, because I want them to really know that, um, I'm sure they know already, but just to see even more how appreciated that movie is, and that whole story. And I hope, because I think it would be nice for them to see that. And I hope they can enjoy it too.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the stuff I always wonder about, is okay, so here's a book based off of James Cameron's movie. And I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but apparently he basically got paid nothing to make the movie. He even gave up his salary. That's the story. And so I don't know what rights he has. I mean, maybe he owns, the intellectual rights to it, but when something new comes out based off of his film, because this is based off of his film, there's literally stills of Leo and Kate in there. And that's what was, when I first saw that cover, I was like, okay, are they just, whoever published this, are they just using a mock-up? Because when we all think of Titanic, we think of Leo and Kate doing the I'm flying thing. So is that what's going on here? And then I looked at the font, and I was like, that looks like the movie font. Like, are they using all this stuff? And then of course I opened the book, and I was like, okay, this is actually truly official, because there's stills, and that has to get licensed, and there's obviously copyright stuff. So like, I wonder how that works. Someone had to have told him, maybe just in passing, or maybe an email, hey, there's a new cookbook coming out, just so you know about it.
And both these questions just now, is I have to tell you really, earnestly, these are the kinds of questions I get mad at myself that I don't know the answers to, because I don't delve into it, and I'm so focused on the food and the project, but I really do not know, and I feel embarrassed admitting that. But
No.
I just looked at it like, I'm developing the recipes, and I was on deadline, and wanted to make these the best I could, and then started rolling into the next project. So I'm embarrassed that I don't know how to even address that, and I wish I did, but now I want to know too. How to find out.
I
Do
think
they know?
I think it's similar to when directors make movies. So when you're a director, you're making the movie, and then once the movie's done, you hand that off to the studio, and the studio does all the distributing and handles all the businessy parts of it, and you just did the creation of it. And I think that's essentially what's going on here. You're the author of the book, but once you're done with authoring, you hand it off to Insight, and they do with it what they will. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't see any like tweeting or anything from Cameron, because I would have immediately picked it up, but he doesn't really tweet too much, or Instagram or anything. So but maybe at some point it'll come out, because there was just a new Terminator show that dropped on Netflix about a week and some change ago, and I had the composers of that show on the podcast, and I asked them, I was like, "Do you know, has Cameron seen the show?" And they were like, "We don't know." So you're not the only one who doesn't know if Cameron has seen or is involved in any of these things based off of his stuff.
Well, and someone asked me once when this book came out, the second book came out, they said, um, was Cameron accurate in the movie? That's one of the Cameron questions I've gotten. And I said, very accurate, like 85, 90% accurate. It's really phenomenal, the research that he put in to produce the movie. And I do not know of another movie that is so accurate. That when I watched it, at the time I wasn't as focused on the menu items. And then when I watched it again to put this book together, I was blown away that he was just spot on with the menu items and the table arrangements, and how the way people were talking around the table, and just he really did a brilliant job with that movie. Just brilliant.
Like the scene that always pops into my head is the little girl being taught how to fold her napkin on her like Kate's looking, or Rose. Kate's looking at the little girl, and the mom is like teaching her how to put the napkin down and everything. And that's of course when Rose has the epiphany of, I don't want to live this life, and she goes to see Jack. But that's the scene that always sticks out in my head when we're talking about the dining room or anything like that. I always think of that little girl, just very very prim and proper, just patting the napkin down, and Rose being like, yeah, no, I don't want to deal with this. If you were on the Titanic, where do you think, like, pretend the money wasn't a thing, where do you think you would have wanted to have been? Would you have wanted to have been in first class, or would you have wanted to have seen second or third? Or
Oh, what a great question, Eddie. I love that. So here's what I think, just right off the cuff. So I would have wanted a first class ticket so that I
right,
could have legally done what Jack did, floating between classes, because I would have
right.
wanted to get, that turkey dinner in second class. And then, yeah, and then I would have wanted to go down to, steerage for some plum pudding.
Right.
So yeah, and for the fun, like they had, so just like Jack and Rose did, that would have been me, just floating through the classes and grazing through the menus. Um, but you'd have to have a first class ticket to do that. So
Right, right. Do they don't do they still do that? Because I've only ever been on a cruise once. Well, because now that's what they're called, cruises. Back then they weren't cruises, right? It was just, that was literally just the mode of transportation.
yeah,
It was
right.
a ship. Now they're cruises. Um, they don't do that anymore, do they? Like, is there? I mean, it's just really based off of whatever kind of room you pick, kind of thing.
I think so. The type of
Right.
room, and some are better than others, and but
Yeah.
I don't think there's a division between the classes, and there certainly is not the kind of division between the classes like there was in that pre World War One era.
Yeah.
Because World War One is when everything changed all of that. The whole world was turned upside down, and with that went the class system.
That's good.
Yeah, yeah. We're very lucky to live in this time period. But I know, like you, I love to, dabble in all of the culture and history and traditions of the Edwardian period too.
Heck yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm very new. Again, I'm gonna pass this off to my girlfriend and see what she wants to pick and choose from, and see where where it takes us. But I mean, if this is the start of kind of expanding some tastes, then I'll make sure I send you a message and be like, thank you because I'm pretty safe when it comes to the stuff that I like to eat. I don't really try too new stuff. Like she's the one that's like, like if we're downtown, we live in Savannah. So if we're downtown Savannah, she's like, she wants to go to a new restaurant that we've never been to. And I'm like, can't we just go to the one that we always go to? that's tried and true. So, but yeah, so hopefully it inspires me to kind of branch out and try some new things. But, as we wind down here, just because I am a little crunched for time here, but I do want to make sure that we talk a little bit about Cameron himself, like the films and everything. So obviously, this is your favorite James Cameron film, right?
For sure, yeah.
And I ask every guest that, what is your number one all-time favorite James Cameron film? So clearly, it's Titanic. If you had to think of a second one, have you seen any other Cameron films that you're like, oh my gosh, this is a masterpiece, or this is really good?
Well, I've seen them all, and I love
Yeah.
Avatar.
The first one or the second one?
The first.
The first one?
Yeah. Yeah. How about you?
Again, back to the Terminator. It's I love the Terminator. Because I actually had a podcast prior to this one. It was Terminator 101. It was literally just focused on those things. And then I was like, I need to talk about, because I love all of his stuff. So I have to kind of branch out and expand it a little bit. But yeah, Terminator has always had a special place in my heart. And I'm a bigger fan of that first film. I like the Terminator more than Terminator 2. Most people kind of go towards the second film, but yeah, I mean, I love them all. Avatar, I'm a big fan of Avatar. Even The Way of Water, I'm not as crazy about, but I really like that one, and I'm very excited for next year when we get the third Avatar. So,
Well, what I was wondering is, did you like the first Avatar over the second one, or which one was your favorite?
oh yeah. I'm of the mindset it should have just been Avatar, the first one, and then he should have moved on to some other thing. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm not too crazy about him dedicating 15 plus years of his life to Avatar.
Well, it's so great that you are producing these podcast episodes, because his work is so worth it. And, the more you can do to spread that information and joy, the better. I think more people should hear about his incredible movies and learn from them.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think there's, back to not seeing Titanic. I've talked to some people and I immediately kind of disown them. I'm like, you don't know who James Cameron is? Like, I'll ask them, do you know who James Cameron is? And they're like, I have no clue who James. I'm like, you don't know who James Cameron is? Like, if he walked in here right now, you wouldn't know who he is. And they're like, no. And that just like baffles my mind. I don't understand it. But most people obviously know who he is. He's kind of up there with Spielberg and all those, Tim Burton, and he's a pretty recognizable name. So, but I was surprised that there wasn't a really dedicated podcast to Cameron. There's podcasts like Alexandra's that are dedicated to a specific part of him. But there isn't an open-ended kind of podcast where one episode we can talk about Titanic, next episode will be The Abyss, the next episode will be Aliens, and then so on and so forth. And so I was like, all right, maybe I can fill that void, because I literally eat, sleep, and breathe James Cameron. I'm always planning. I'm always reaching out to new guests, and always watching his films, looking for new things, looking for the books and the magazines and everything. So it's it is a passion project, similar to what I imagine this cookbook was for you.
Oh yeah.
So that's why I love having people like yourself on, because we share a similar thing, even though it's two totally different things. It's a cookbook and a podcast, but they can exist mutually. So, but we'll wrap it up here. And once that new book comes out, I wanna get you back on and talk about what you have coming up in the future. So if you had to think of a title, obviously you could do the official cookbook .5, but if you had to think of a title right now here on the spot, what do you think you would call that third book?
The new menu,
The new menu?
the the latest menu, or maybe there'll be another one by that point. Now you've really got me thinking, Eddie. So now I'm in trouble. I've got my work cut out for me.
Well, I'm glad I found your book. I'm glad and then I realized, because like I was thinking, I was like, I'm pretty sure Alexandra and Nelson, I'm pretty sure Alexandra did an episode with somebody about food. And this is after I bought the book. And then I looked it up on their podcast and I was like, get out of here. Like, what are the odds? And then someone also on, I think it was Instagram or somewhere, they told me that I should get in touch with you. Like they tagged you in because I took a photo of me holding the book and they were like, you should get in touch with Veronica. And so I was like, all right, this is too coincidental to not make it happen. So I'm so happy we made this happen. And I'm really happy that you're doing much better after that accident. So I'm very excited for what the future has in store for you when it comes to your publishing. And we'll be in touch again and stay in touch. Absolutely.
Oh, thank you so much, Eddie. It's really been a nice treat to meet you.
Likewise. And everybody, like I always say, go watch a Cameron film.